Hey guys, it's Matthew again, aka Mattman on the A La Carte Sports Betting Podcast here. Today we're going to be going over the UFC picks for UFC 296. I have 5 events that I think are worth talking about and have some good value. Most of them will be favorites, but that's just how it goes in the final event of the year. So I'm going to start out with this fight. Vicente Luque versus Ian Garry. So we have the experienced Vicente Luque going up against the young gun Ian Garry. Both have had some good wins. Vicente Luque is on the back end of his career, though. And with that in mind, Ian Gary's on the come up. So I think this is a very good test on both sides to see if Vicente Luque still has it and if Ian Garry uh, potentially will have it more so than I think we already think he has. But in this fight, I will be going Ian Garry. I do think that young gun mentality will prevail in this type of fight. I see Ian Garry having a lot more power and durability than what Vicente Luque will have. And I don't see Vicente Luque implementing his game plan, which will be to take him down to the ground and do his thing on the mat. I think Ian Garry has good enough defensive takedown abilities to withstand Vicente's ground game or attempt thereof. And so I'm guessing and predicting that Ian Garry will either win this on decision or by TKO, probably in the second or third round. I just think Ian Garry, with it being a 15-minute fight, uh, his endurance will be a lot greater than Vicente Luque, being close to 40 years old, still trying to work his way back into the top. And I just don't see that happening, honestly. So, first fight of the night, Ian Garry, he's a minus 360 favorite. I think those odds are too wide just to bet on the money line, so I would recommend getting spicy with the bet and guessing that it will be the second or third round TKO for Ian Garry. Um, I don't see the first round happening because I think it's going to be a feeling out process, seeing if Vicente Luque is even going to try to do the takedowns. If not, I still think it'll be a boring first round, and then Ian's going to clip him. So going on to the next fight, we are going to have the Tony Ferguson versus Paddy Pimblett fight, and we all, at least I would hope, that everyone wants Tony Ferguson to win. The guy is a legend of the game and is doing some ridiculous training right now. Um, with what's his name? Hoorah! I can do anything. I'll think of his name here in his Gaggins, something like that. But anyways, regardless of his training, this is like the first time Tony Ferguson's had a coach, and it's showing that he's needing something, a miracle, coming from a guy who doesn't fight in the UFC. I think that's just a unique choice at this point in the career. And Paddy Pimblett, oh, hold on, guys. Sorry about that. Um, Paddy Pimblett, I don't think is actually that good. I think Paddy on his last fight definitely should have lost, and that was against a very average opponent for what Paddy's hype train is, and he almost lost. And so, if Paddy doesn't actually perform at what his hype train level is, I think Tony Ferguson could actually have a good shot in this fight. I hope he doesn't get knocked out because his durability has been proven to be very poor these days. And Paddy's more of a grappler, so I'm just hoping that it doesn't go another submission against Tony Ferguson. With that in mind, I do think this fight actually goes to decision, and I kind of hope, regardless of outcome, Tony Ferguson comes to the conclusion he cannot do this anymore. It's kind of just getting rough to watch such a legend just getting beat up horribly in some of these last fights that you're just kind of hoping the guy, you know, hangs up the gloves and finds a new passion somewhere else, which would be good for the guy. But I see this going Paddy Pimblett's way. He is the hype train. He is the up and comer. The UFC has more to invest in him than they do Tony Ferguson at this point in the UFC timeline of things. And so I don't think it's going to be an easy fight for Paddy. David Goggins. That's who Tony Ferguson's training under. I knew it would come to me, but I do think Paddy Pimblett will just, if it goes to decision, he's going to be handed it. And I think Dana White's going to be in the corner whispering to Tony Ferguson, you better frickin' quit, dude. Like, we'll pay you whatever it takes for you to quit at this point versus to keep coming and getting beaten up. So I lean Paddy Pimblett on this fight, and I see it being either like a decision. That's where my heart mainly suggests this fight goes, or a submission where we just see Tony Ferguson crumble again. So that is that fight. Next fight is another up-and-comer versus a legend of the game, Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Stephen the Wonder Boy Thompson. I personally have not really been a fan of Stephen Thompson's style of fighting. It definitely is the jump around the cage, play the point game. Honestly, I think even if he catches your chin correctly, I just don't see him having the power to really knock out most of these contenders at the moment. And Shavkat is no joke based on what we've seen. He hasn't gone up against anyone really that's like shocking that he's beaten. And he's been dominating, though. The guy only has finishes. I think he's 16 fights and 16 finishes. Let's see real quick. 17 fights and 17 finishes. So he is no one to joke around with. It is only a 3 round fight. And so with that being said, I do think Steven's going to play his touch and run type style. And I do think that could get him ahead in the points, potentially if he just has one clean round. And that's just where I personally think Shavkat, being this undefeated 17-0 fighter with so many skills in his toolbox, that he's going to get Stephen Thompson out of there. I really do not see Stephen jumping around the cage until he doesn't get caught, but rather that he does get caught by either a clean hook of some sort while he's like jumping into the pocket versus jumping out. That could be timed. I could see, because Stephen's really a run around the ring type of fighter, if Shavkat does get him to the ground, I can't really remember how Stephen reacts in those moments, but I don't think it's going to be good against this guy. I think this guy is the real deal, and his betting line suggests that at minus 520 to 390 or plus 390 for Stephen Thompson. And so the casino is not giving really Stephen Thompson a chance. I think if you do want to bet on Stephen Thompson, because he is the kind-hearted UFC fighter, like you do love him for that type of martial arts and how he carries himself, I would definitely bet on him to win by decision. I do not see a world where he can do anything really to get this guy out of the ring besides the bell ringing. And that would probably be good money on that. And then if you're going to bet Shavkat, you have to bet either a submission or a KO. And either one of those is like super live in my head, like 50-50 either or. I would probably lean submission because I think that just negates Steven's punching, running away type of style. I think that's just going to piss this guy off, Shavkat. He's going to be like, dude, let's fight, not punch and run. So I think Shavkat by submission in the third or second round is a good bet that I will be putting out there once those bets go live, which is usually the Tuesday before the fights. And these fights are about 2 weeks out. Just as a heads up, in case you did not know that, it is the last fight of the year. And then we make our way to the co-main event, which will be putting a belt on the line for Alexandre Pantoja versus Brandon Roval. Both of these guys are pretty small in the sense of their weight class. Let's see which ones they are. They are going to be flyweight, so some pretty tiny guys out there. Both of them being, well, actually, Pantoja is 5'5" and Brandon Roval is 5'9". So there will be a height discrepancy, but the reach is still basically the same. A 67-inch reach for Alexandre Pantoja and a 68 for the taller Brandon Roval. So in this fight, they're both very skilled grapplers, and I think that's where this fight will probably be ended because it is a 5-round fight with the belt on the line. I lean in the grappling exchanges Alexandre Pantoja, as he already did beat the former champion, and he did so pretty convincingly. There were a lot of good exchanges, but that showed his durability and being willing to give a punch to take one. So, like that about the smaller guy in this scenario. And then Brandon Roval, I think, is getting the shot just because they don't want to see Brandon Moreno again contending for the title since he has been doing such a good job in those spots. I just think the viewership isn't as inclined to watch him again at this point because it is just getting kind of same scenario, same stuff from him every time, but he wins. Just had a not as good performance last time. I'm gonna sneeze again, I'm calling it. So hold on. Sorry. But so with that being said, I do think Alexandre, however you want to say it, Alexander, I think is the correct way. Whatever the case is, I think Pantoja will be the one that walks away with his belt again. I just think his skill level on the mat is pretty legit. And so it's going to be, I think, a lot of punching and shooting and then a lot of scrambles. And this fight really could go either way, but just in the sense of seeing him already win the belt, I think he will retain it moving forward into the next year. So moving on to the main event, we have Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington. This fight, I have a big bet to end the year, roughly around $500 on one of these fighters. So I'll go over both skills and advantages or disadvantages I think they most likely will show us. And so we'll start out with Leon, the champion. So Leon won the belt versus Kamaru Usman. I think it was about a year ago. And it was the leg kick heard around the world. And I remember being at my cousin's house watching the fight. And all of us, when that leg kick landed with 30 seconds or less to the fight ending going into Kamaru Usman's favor, we all were stunned. That was one of the first times I looked around the room and everyone's mouth was dropped. Just in shock that this is even what we're witnessing. And the champ was out. Out. Sleepy time out. Not good. Probably for his health out. It looked bad, okay? And so to relive that moment just now, think about it this way. If that leg kick with 30 seconds left never lands, I think we all still have the same opinion on Leon Edwards. You're a great fighter, but you aren't the champion. that single 30 seconds was the greatest moment of this guy's life, and it was well deserved. Nothing against Leon. A brilliant strike to get him the belt. So, congrats there. But if that never happens, I think we're all saying Kamaru Usman's the best fighter in the world still. Hands down. Like, none of us would even question the guy who's like on the 20 fight win streak. Ridiculous. And so, going off of that, Kamaru Usman's nemesis, I'd say, because he just kept finding a way back to the belt, was Colby Covington. And their wrestling, I think, both of Kamar and Colby's, really made it a stand-up fight. Neither one of them wanted to test the other one's wrestling. And if it did get tested, both were very well off in defending it. So then it became a striking fight, and Kamar Usman's jab just is deadly. And Colby couldn't figure out that puzzle to win those fights. So in this fight, though, Leon has shown us to have good takedown defense against Kamar in the first fight and the second fight. But Kamar is more or less a 1-2 and then shoot, potentially. Leon Edwards is shoot once, shoot twice, shoot a third time, and you know what? If it doesn't work the third time, throw one punch and shoot again. All right, this guy's chain wrestling, Colby, is unmatched in the sense of cardio and consistency from what we've seen. And the worrisome, I guess, for me is that Colby has been out because he got jumped by Jorge Masvidal after Colby said his stupid shit, as he always does, and it finally caught up to him on the streets of Miami, I'm pretty sure is where it happened. But in this fight here, Leon is a carry a what is this term? Speak softly, carry a big stick is how I see Leon Edwards. And Colby Covington is talk loudly and still carry the big same stick. The guy is funny on the mic, but very disciplined in the octagon. And so with all that said, I do put my $500 on Colby Covington, the underdog, to win this fight either by decision, and I think it will be a unanimous decision, as I think it will be obvious to all of us that having a guy down potentially 2 to 3 rounds going to decision should show the dominant fighter in that sense. And then another option is I do see Colby Covington possibly getting some ground and pound on Leon after just exhausting Leon to the point where he can't defend anymore. And so that would probably be in the 4th or 5th round. We've seen Leon kind of start fading, and Colby, I don't think we've ever seen that. So Colby Covington will be the pick to end off the year, and he will be the big bet of the year in the sense of ending it. And so those are my 5 key fights going into that final event this year, UFC 296. If you like the video, do your thing, whatever they say at the end of all that shenanigans. And yeah, I hope you enjoy. This is the sister channel of the Parlay Kitchen, which will be coming here shortly once my buddy gets his computer fixed, where we, as always, make very large parlays in hopes of life-changing money. And this a la carte channel is more or less the single bets that I like and I see good value in. So I hope you tune in next time. I'll see you then. Cheers, boys.